Welcome back to Aggie Sports Overtime. Sunday marks 1 month since Johnny Manziel became Johnny Brown as the Cleveland Browns selected the quarterback with the 22nd overall pick. So we're joined by Cleveland's Jim Donovan. Jim, thanks for joining us here on the program.
Chris, good to be with you.
Now, you've had about a month covering the Heisman winner. What are your early impressions of Johnny Manziel?
Well, he's electric. I mean, everything he does, whether he goes to an elementary school or flies off to Vegas for the weekend or performs in Browns OTA practices, everything is just electric, and it's big, and it's covered in a big scope. I have to tell you, Chris, I haven't seen this much excitement in Cleveland over an athlete since way back, and I'm going to go way back in time now, about 7 or 8 years ago, when the Cleveland Cavaliers won the NBA draft lottery for the right to select a high school star named LeBron James. But that was a little bit different because LeBron was a local kid from Akron right outside of Cleveland, and we all knew him and desperately wanted him, and deservedly so. But this is a little bit different and even bigger because Johnny Manziel was really a national story before he came to the Cleveland Browns, and now he's made the Browns a national story.
Well, and of course, now it seems like an annual tradition with the Cavaliers getting that #1 pick in the NBA draft. But you touch on it, so let's stick with that theme there. How do Browns fans feel about Manziel? They haven't seen him in actual NFL game competition, but having him in the city and having him drafted as a Brown.
Well, I mean, the city was pandemonium the night that they made the move in the first round, and they traded up from the 26th spot up to number 22. And then, you know, everybody was waiting, and there were strong hints that it was going to be Manziel that they were doing all of that for. So, I mean, wherever people were, I mean, they jumped off their couches, off their bar stools, and it was like a parade that night in Cleveland when they selected him. So they're really excited about it. I think they look at him right now, Chris, and they say, we think that if he can do what he did on Saturdays and now translate that into Sundays in the NFL, then finally the Browns will turn around. And I think that it really, there's an awful lot on his shoulders and on his shoulder pads in this case because the Browns have desperately been looking to get a quarterback, a franchise quarterback who can really get the franchise going. That's been the real stopgap for them. They've tried all different ways to do it, and they have not succeeded. They've had a list of failures, playing guys too soon, playing guys when their NFL productive days are over, when they go get a veteran quarterback, taking a flyer on a 3rd or a 4th round draft choice for a quarterback. Nothing has worked, but they really desperately believe this is going to work, and this is the guy that will be the great quarterback for the Cleveland Browns and turn it around here finally. Since 1999, when they came back in the NFL, they've only had 2 winning seasons.
And, of course, now they'll have another #2 so we can get rid of the Tim Couch jerseys, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They're going to buy fresh new #2 jerseys. I mean, Tim Couch, let's go back 1999 when the Browns came back as a true expansion team in the NFL after they were out of the NFL for 3 years when the original team moved to Baltimore. Tim Couch was the first guy selected out of the University of Kentucky. There's a much better, more confident feeling and probably a more excited feeling about Johnny Manziel than as I remember when they drafted Tim Couch.
Now, it seemed like almost immediately following the draft, the Browns organization made statements in the media that Manziel needed to act like a backup, realize that Cleveland is in Hollywood. Why do you think the Browns would draft Johnny and then seemingly, almost take shots at him in the media, or at least put those things out there?
You know, I think, Chris, a lot of that might have been a little bit of window dressing for the other players on the team who might have been concerned that if you bring a guy like Johnny Manziel in, are you going to have 2 sets of rules? A set of rules for the Cleveland Browns players and then a separate set of rules for Johnny Manziel. So I think what the Browns were doing was saying, hey, listen, he's got to come in, he's got to earn his spot, he's going to act as the backup quarterback until he can win the starter's role, whenever that is, if it's in July or if it's a year from July. I mean, he's going to have to win everything on the field. It's not going to be given to him. So I think it was more for the national media and certainly for the other guys who are currently on the Cleveland Browns saying, this guy's going to have to win his position just like you did.
Now, I'm going to ask you to prognosticate here just a little bit. In your opinion, Week 1 in Pittsburgh, is Johnny Manziel the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns?
Well, I'm going to put it this way to you, Chris. Right now, and I've been with the Browns these last couple of days and for the last couple of weeks, they come out publicly and say they would be more comfortable if he was not the starting quarterback because they think it would all be too fast. But having said that, he's going to go up against the guy, Brian Hoyer, who's a Cleveland guy who grew up right here in Cleveland, who's going to try and bounce back after an ACL injury last year and win the starting job for the Cleveland Browns to be their starting quarterback in Pittsburgh in early September when they take on the Steelers. But Hoyer is going to have to really do a couple of things. Prove to the Browns that he's healthy and ready, and then that he is a better quarterback and a better choice than Johnny Manziel. So I think when they go head-to-head, and I think they're going to be allowed to do that and go head-to-head, I think if Manziel comes out on top and clearly looks visually that he's the better quarterback on the field, leading the team in the 4 preseason games, then I don't think it's a long shot by any means that he would be the starting quarterback for the Browns against the Steelers at Heinz Field.
The obvious follow-up, because we are here in Aggieland and there are plenty of fans trying to figure out if they can get Browns games on Sundays to mix in with their Texans games, their Cowboys games. Factoring in the ACL, how many games do you think that Manziel could at least play in? We won't say start, but play in regular season games this coming season.
Well, I tell you what, I know for Johnny, I think he would say anything short of 16 would be a little bit disappointing. There is a conservative plan by the Browns that if Hoyer won the starting job coming out of training camp, that the Browns have a tough first 3 games. I believe they go with Pittsburgh, they play New Orleans, they play Baltimore, and then they have their bye week. And after their bye week, then, a lot of people thought that if the team wasn't productive with Hoyer at quarterback in the first 3 games of the season, then you have a bye week. You'd have an extra week to get Manziel ready, and then you would put him in their 4th game. So I guess if you do the addition and the math on that, I think that there's a possible chance that he would play 13 games if you went by the plan that Hoyer would get a crack with the team in the first 3 games of the year.
Now, you've heard a lot, obviously, as you said, you cover the Browns, you're there every day. From what you've seen, do you think his game's going to translate to the NFL game, or is the Johnny football or the Johnny Manziel on Sundays going to look different from the Johnny Manziel that we saw on Saturdays?
I think the Browns are trying to teach him that, listen, the pocket is not a bad place. We think we're going to have a pretty good offensive line. You should be able to live in there a little bit longer than you normally would like to be in there as a college player. And I think you're going to find that it might be safer than if you're running around and being chased by these super athletes that are now outside linebackers and defensive ends in the NFL. So there really is, Chris, a fine line with what the Browns want to do with him. I think they want to let him be what he was down at Texas A&M, but they want to maybe pull the reins in a little bit more and say, stay in the pocket a little bit longer, give it a chance, and then if it's not there, give it an extra beat and then do what you did in college. And maybe that will be a good existence for him. I do believe he comes to the right situation here because Kyle Shanahan is the offensive coordinator here who had Robert Griffin III, who did a lot of fun things in Houston before that. So I think he's got the right offensive coordinator for his rookie year in the NFL.
So we know he has the right offensive coordinator. We know he has the tools. So the last question has to be, does he have the right nickname? We've heard Johnny Football. We've had Johnny Hancock. We then had Johnny Brown, Johnny Dog Pound. You, on a personal level, do you have a favorite nickname for right now the Browns' current 3rd-string quarterback?
Yeah, I think right now I still love the Johnny Football thing. And I love when he talks about himself and talks about Johnny Football almost in the 3rd person. So I'm kind of hooked on that. A lot of people then a couple of weeks into the regular season hope that he's Johnny Cleveland. I mean, they might like that. But I like Johnny Football. I think that's got a real good ring to it.
Jim, thank you for joining us here on Aggie Sports Overtime. Jim Donovan from WKYC in Cleveland. We'll now throw it over to Chris Costa in the studio.